Okay, welcome to the Saturday night Lovecraft eZine show. And today is, let's see, August the 2nd. Well, depending on what time zone you're in, I suppose. Depends on the date. For Pete and Rick, it's August the 3rd. So, 2014. And got all the regulars plus a couple. Oh, Vince! That is a lovely hat, sir.
Thank you. Yes, it was given to me by a
Oh,
special.
really?
Yeah. Well, actually, no. I'm borrowing it.
Oh, okay. All right. Well,
All
okay.
right.
All right. And James is here as well. Usually doesn't make it, so greetings, James. Uh, I'm kind of hungry. But we'll talk about that later. Um, Matt, you wanted to talk about Diatlo Pass, or however you say
Yeah,
that.
I've been catching up on my reading a little bit, or falling less far behind. Um, I have no idea where I came across this title. I think I searched Amazon for Lovecraft like I periodically do, and it popped up.
Mm-hmm.
The author is Alan Baker. He has written some other books, mostly that I haven't read. He's got a pair of paranormal investigators. He wrote one semi-Lovecraftian book in that series called The Feaster from the Stars or something like that. And I thought it was terrible. It's just, I didn't think it was very good.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, I didn't remember the guy's name. I picked this up and only found that out after the fact. Have you ever heard of Dyatlov Pass?
I've
It's
heard.
one of those
There's a
stories that is weirder than fiction. It was in the 1959 in the Ural Mountains, and 9 Soviet citizens who were out skiing were visiting mountain that is in the native tongue. There were 2 mountains. One's called Death Mountain, and the other's called Don't Go There. That's their names in the native tongue, what they mean. Well, they went there, and they disappeared. And when they recovered the bodies, it was very strange. They had left their tent in the middle of the night and run out into the cold. Most of them were found in stages of undress. One woman's tongue had been removed. Some of them were suffering injuries as though they had fallen from a height. And there were reports their skin was discolored. Now, there's probable real explanations for all this, but you can see the glimmering of a story here. So what this book does, I really liked it. It's a Lovecraftian novel without being mythos at all. It's a story and a story and a story told in flashback. There's a reporter who's assigned on the 50th anniversary of the incident to go and find out what he can that hasn't been revealed before.
Right.
And he starts digging into it, so you get through his eyes the information of what happened to the people who were there. And then he gets a little expedition together ends up being 5 people, counting himself, to go to the same place in Dyatlov Pass. And it doesn't go well. And so the other story is a psychiatrist evaluating him, trying to get the story of what happened.
Oh, okay.
And what the author did that was very well, like you feel like it's really interesting. You're involved in this investigation, and he's dribbling this information out there. And it's not too long a novel. It's a couple hundred pages.
Mm-hmm.
But then when he finally gets to what he uses as an explanation for what happened, it's super Lovecraftian.
Okay.
And I just thought it was much better than his other book. It was very entertaining read.
There's also a movie on Netflix that I watched recently. I think you watched it too, Pete.
Yeah, Devil's Pass. It's pretty much the same story.
I think it's based on the same story because this has been a subject of interest. This guy, Alan Baker, apparently has written, quote, true, unquote, books about the paranormal, and he probably heard about the incident in his researches, I am presuming, and then said this would make a nice Lovecraftian story, and he ran with it. There's enough fodder there for, I think, a weird fiction author to just go to town.
You know, it sounds like one of August Derlitz's Ithaquah stories. You know, people being frozen and found dropped from great heights.
Yeah, but he didn't go that route. That's not the way that he went. He wanted it to be less explicable and not one of the conventional Lovecraftian monsters.
Well, everybody, as
So
usual.
I think it's really, I'd really be interested.
Go ahead. Sorry.
Well, I'd be interested to hear someone else's opinion who's read the book. I thought it was very readable and quite enjoyable.
Well, I'm gonna pick it up. I see it's available for Kindle too. And just a reminder, help me support this show and the website. If you buy it, go to Lovecraft eZine first and buy it through the portal, which is on the top right side of every page. I've got it. Some text on the right side you can click through. But yeah, it looks really interesting. Did it just come out recently?
And I posted my review onto the Lovecraft eZine public website, and I included a map of the actual camp, and then a few photographs. There's some published photographs of what happened to the people. I attached one of those too. So it's really kind of creepy.
You know, I've said this so many times,
So
but I really enjoy stories that are less overtly Lovecraftian, you know, not mythos, not naming names or using Cthulhu or, you know, a million other Lovecraftian gods, but use the themes.
Yeah, the other thing is the craft of the writing I thought was very good. Which when I read the previous book, I couldn't stand it.
You liked the movie too, Pete, didn't you?
Yeah, I really enjoyed the movie. I thought it's a found footage movie, which you know I think has been done to death. But they did some really nice stuff, and essentially they come up with an explanation on how dimensional shamblers are made, without actually using that terminology. But,
Yeah, I thought it was a pretty good ending.
Yeah, I did too.
It's interesting you say that, because in the real incident, I think the camera of one of the people had some photographs in it, or that's at least part of the story. That they find like 8 or 9 photographs that someone who had been on the expedition had taken.
That was in the movie too. Yeah, I have no idea whether it's part of the real story or not, but yeah. I think it's still on Netflix. Devil's Pass, right? That's
right. Devil's Pass, which was apparently originally titled the Didalov Pass Incident.
And then let's see here. What else were we going to talk about? Oh, I was telling Matt. I talked about this book last Sunday. I bought it like 5 or 6 years ago, and I've just been rereading it lately. And I realized that there's a Thomas Ligotti story in here, and I realized it's the first Thomas Ligotti story that I ever read. Dream of a Mannequin.
Yeah.
You guys read that one?
Yeah. It's been a while since I've read it, but yeah.
Yeah, I don't know if you can make a case that it's Lovecraftian or not. I mean, there's at least 3 or 4 Lovecraftian stories in this book. I really recommend it. But, man, this story is creepy as hell. I didn't even know who he was when I read this. And I don't know how much I can really say about it without giving it away. But basically, it's written by this psychiatrist. He's got this patient, this girl that comes into his office, and she's a secretary, but then she works every night. She dreams that she has a job as a mannequin dresser in some department store or something, and she also dreams that the person she is in the dream has another dream. So things do not end well, but it's really good.
Here's something else that came in. Equoid by Strauss. Are we doing hats, man? No one told me.
We are at Hat Day. I'm sorry you didn't get the memo. I'm sorry.
Strauss is really hitting his stride with his laundry series. I really didn't care so much for the Apocalypse Codex, but the Fuller Memorandum, and then the most recent one, the Rhesus, whatever it was.
Sure.
I thought was very good. And Echoid is a novella that is available to read free. I'll put a link up. But it basically talks about Lovecraft in the laundry world, and it is his explanation for Shub-Niggurath. It is really a very, very clever novella.
Is that from Subterranean Press?
Yeah, this is the print version from Subterranean, but I posted a link. You can read it free on Tor.com.
Okay. I'm just mentioning that if you want to, I got a newsletter from them that's saying if you want to buy the book, order it soon because it's going out of print very fast.
What's it called? Echoid?
Echoid. There's a reason for the name. It has to do with what a unicorn really is. I don't want to give away too much. It's just super clever. And you know how we talked about how a lot of modern horror in the U.S., they don't do anything to children?
Right.
Right, yeah.
Strauss doesn't respect that convention.
Oh, okay. Yeah, we were talking about Italian movies a while back.
Right, you'd mentioned it.
Yeah.
So it's good stuff. Now, in terms of what's fair, I don't even know if it's Lovecraftian.
Children of No One?
Children of No One.
Yeah.
It's a novella published by Dark Fuse.
Right.
I thought it was okay, fair. Didn't float my boat.
There we go.
Is that the one we discussed on the previous show?
Oh, okay, awesome. There we
No,
go.
I don't know. They're putting out quite a few
I know,
novellas.
I
Really,
was small.
they're beautiful little books. They're not too expensive. They're just
I know.
very.
God damn it, Pete.
So, I'm not going to be able to keep up with the hats.
Okay. Thank you. Let's see here. I'm surprised Joe isn't here because we were going to play a trick on him, but Did you said you've read what is it? Oh, here it is. Fatale.
Oh, love that book.
Have the rest of you guys read that? Rick, have you read that?
No, I haven't.
What is it, a 5-parter, something like that?
So
I
far,
read the first part.
What's that?
I read the first part.
Fatale.
Right. Yeah.
Oh, you read the first part. Okay, I thought you said you read the first part. Okay.
it's by Ed Brubaker.
Yeah.
It's published by Image Comics.
Mm-hmm.
Did they ever
And-
collect them in a graphic novel?
Yeah, there's
Three of
like, I think so far 3 compilations.
Mm-hmm.
It's also available at Comixology.
Yeah.
You can buy the whole thing in one big digital graphic novel too.
Oh,
But-
I'm sorry. There are four compilations so far.
No, you're right, Matthew. I apologize. I forgot.
I don't even know how to describe the story really.
It is about a
It is
woman.
Lovecraftian. Go ahead.
You
Sorry.
don't get it from her perspective at first to realize she's the main character. There's some guy who's an executor of someone's estate, and you think, oh, that's pretty conventional, and he runs into this woman, and suddenly he finds himself compelled to protect her. And she barely says 2 words to him, and the next thing you know, he's thrown his life away for her. And then you start going back with her into time, and you realize she's been doing this for a long time, and there's very Lovecraftian echoes of it, and you don't really understand what she is or what her motivation is. They're keeping the everything pretty close to the vest, but the art is gorgeous, and the story is really compelling.
I'm finding Fatale after 4 graphic novels. I'm really hoping something happens because it's very intense and atmospheric, but I'm waiting for the payoff. If you know what I mean.
Yeah, sure. I'm just kind of enjoying the ride right now.
Yeah, but I feel like they need to tease a little more than less.
He's
Because otherwise it's a very hard balance. It's hard to do.
How many of them did you read? All 4? Is there 4 or 5? I can't remember.
There are 4 graphic novels.
Pretty soon.
Right. Okay.
So each graphic novel contains 4 or 5 of the individual comics. The first 10 are also collected into a deluxe hardcover, which I don't have, so I don't know what's in it.
Yeah.
You can get the 4 graphic novels have been published. They're what, $12 to $14 a piece.
Yeah, about that.
I've gotten a lot of enjoyment out of them.
I'm not disagreeing with you, Matthew. They are very enjoyable.
That's good because we have a policy of not disagreeing with Matt on the show. I'm sorry, I should have warned you earlier.
Yeah.
You do not disagree with Matt.
No.
Yeah, my enforcer.
It's just that I feel like it's trying to go somewhere, and I hope it gets there sooner rather than later.
How many did you say you read? All 4 or just?
I have all 4 of the trades right now.
Well, it's done, isn't it? Are there going to be any more?
If it's done, then I'm bummed.
Oh, okay.
No, I know 5 is coming out pretty soon. It's just a matter of finding it, like waiting for the 5th one to be collected and put into a graphic novel.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Well, maybe it'll pay off. I'm enjoying it. Like I say, you can pick it up on Comixology too. Mm-hmm. So anyway, let's spend some more of the viewers' money. There you go. This will cost you a penny, I think. So go ahead, Rick. Sorry.
So you know about Fatale, if you're listening, the idea is that the lead character, Jo, is a, quote, femme fatale. She's really fatale. She's been alive for at least 70, maybe 100 years without aging. And a cult has been pursuing her, and the cult might worship something like Cthulhu, which is the Lovecraftian tie-in. And for some reason, she's immortal and can compel men to her will, but what her power is and what exactly they want, that's all kind of a bit unclear. And for me, that's part of the hook. And the art is gorgeous. The dialogue is very good. I think the characters are compelling. Oh, hey, Joe.
Hey, Joe. You're muted. You're muted. There you go.
Hey.
How's it going?
Let's see, it took me 19 minutes to get in this thing. None of the links would work.
Yeah, I had a similar problem in the beginning. Took me like about 5 minutes.
I pushed and clicked every thing in the universe, and no, that don't work.
You talking about the link in the email?
Just anything. Yeah. The link in the email kind of just flashed. Then another time when I opened it, it wiggled and wiggled, but you click on it and it wouldn't do anything.
That was happening to me too, Joe.
Yeah,
and then when you try to go in Google Plus, you had similar problems.
Yeah, maybe Google's having problems tonight. Leah said she wanted to come on the show and disagree with James.
Yes.
Huh?
Bring it.
I'm sorry.
Go ahead, Leah.
I've been up 25 minutes, so.
Leah.
Yes. James, I do not agree with you.
But that's with a lot of things. You have to be specific.
I do not agree with you disagreeing with that kind man.
About Fatale, have you read Fatale?
No, I haven't.
You just disagree in general.
Yeah,
Okay, got it. Thank you.
you're
Awesome.
welcome.
Thanks,
By
Lee.
the way, we had Nicole Cushing on the show to discuss Children of No One.
Yeah, a while back.
Yeah, that it's got its overall Lovecraftian, and it has one direct reference, I think, to Azathoth inside the text. So it's marginally mythos. And I did enjoy it when I read it. We got it in the Kindle edition. That's why we got it before Matt did.
I didn't dislike it, but it didn't really jazz me.
It was okay in your estimate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What do you guys think of Basil Copper?
Oh, gosh, that book. I think if I had read it when I was 15 or 14, when it first came out in '74, I'd really be affectionate about it now. But I read it when James Ambiel was the guy who knew everything on alt.horror.cthulhu and mentioned it. And I tracked it down.
No. James Ambuel said he knew everything. He didn't know everything.
No, but he knew.
He was
by that I mean he knew the names of all these books and stories that were new to me.
Oh, he did, yeah. Yeah, he knew a lot.
He had an encyclopedic, he had
He
copies
didn't know
of
everything, though.
Maybe that's why he got divorced. He had, his whole apartment was full of Xerox stories. So he pointed me to that book, and I read it, and I didn't like it. It was first of all, it took forever to get going, and the payoff, the last couple of pages were pretty good, but it wasn't worth slogging through the rest of it. I found it rather derivative, and the prose was tedious till you got to the very end.
Philosopher's Stone, that was the other one I was trying to think of it.
Oh, but Colin Wilson, I love the book. All right, I love the book.
Yeah, Colin Wilson is innovative.
Okay, sorry, I got those guys mixed up. Yeah, go ahead.
You need to read Copper's short fiction. He wrote this book. It was the story, I think it was in Cthulhu 2000, called Shaft 247. Am I getting that right?
Yes,
you are.
You got it.
I thought that was a brilliant story.
Yeah, he did some good work, but I agree with you on that one.
He could sometimes be a little too traditional in his writings. When you get, a very, a horror story you've read more than once.
Is that a pseudonym? Did I get these guys mixed up for a reason?
No, they're totally different.
They're different. They're different cats.
Okay. Well, unlike James Ambiel or whatever his name is, I do not have a encyclopedic memory. So.
Neither do I.
Colin Wilson likes to write fiction where it's not directly tied to the mythos, but somebody that this was in the Mind Parasites. In other words, somebody discovers something.
Return of the Wild Lord.
Lovecraft wrote, so it really exists, but it's it's not like Lovecraft. It was like Lovecraft's fiction had a basis in fact, but they weren't fictionalizations of real events.
Yeah, the Mind Parasites. That's the one I read recently.
If you want to read one thing by Copper, it should be, I think, Shaft 247. I mean, they've got a 2-volume issue of his short fiction from PS Publishing called Smears and Shadows or something like that.
You can also pick up a 3-volume paperback edition of it.
Right. But if you want to jump in and say what is one of his best works, that one is Lovecraftian and claustrophobic and really nerve-wracking.
What's Shaft 247? I don't even.
I read it so many years ago, but it's like if you can think someone's either on a space station or on a moon or something, and they start getting a creepy feeling about this shaft in the structure of what they're living in, and it's like events centered around this shaft number.
Okay, so it's not about an African American detective. Go on.
Right. No.
I don't know, and I didn't. I think it takes place in a mine on Earth. I don't remember it being in outer space.
I just
Yeah, Pete.
like I said, it's been a while since I read it, but I thought it was really good.
It's kind of Lovecraftian. That's what you're saying, or it is Lovecraftian.
Yeah. I think it's in Cthulhu 2000.
It originally appeared in New Tales of the Cthulhu Mythos, edited by Ramsey Campbell.
Oh, okay. All right. I'm gonna have to make a note
You
too.
have that Arkham House collection.
Yeah. Okay. Here is a description from some guy's website. It says, in the far future, humanity dwells deep underground in metal chambers, in anonymous corridors of machinery, with the life rigidly controlled and harsh. Sealed shafts rise up to the surface, and you're not allowed to go in. But the hero, or protagonist, starts to think something is trying to attract his attention through that shaft.
So it's a short story or it's a novel?
Short story.
It was either in Cthulhu 2000 or Eternal Lovecraft. One of those Turner edited Arkham House books.
You're right, Joe. It's Cthulhu 2000. I just pulled it up on Amazon, which I think I have. So I'm gonna have to look that up.
You would like it because it's Lovecraftian without any mythos references.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah, that sounds like I would.
Oh, hey.
And if Tiedemann had written a Lovecraft story, we'd all be a lot better off because he can write better than Cooper. And this is a good book. It's not as good as Pimp, you know. Iceberg Slim was better, but if we're going to pick on Shaft, you're on thin ice, Davis.
I'm not gonna pick on it. I said it sounds like a good story.
Oh. Shaft was a bad mother.
Shut your mouth.
Yes,
I'm just talking about Shaft.
Well, the irony about Basil Copper is that he got accused of doing the Derlitz. What Derlitz did to Lovecraft was all those Solar Ponds pastiches he wrote.
Oh,
it's a big.
That's right. He did do that, didn't he? Rick, man, you know everything.
It
How
was
do you
a-
remember this stuff, Rick?
He does.
Hey,
Oh,
guys.
I know, because you were that guy. You were that guy in all my classes who wasn't skipping and coming out to the park doing all the dope with us. That's why. You were the good guy.
Hey, guys. You know, I come on these chats, and every once in a while I have pizza, and you know I get accused.
Oh man, here I am. I'm not even out of bed.
Hey Vince,
yet. I'm not awake. I have not finished my first tea, and he's got pizza.
You want some pizza, Vince?
Yeah, I'll take some pizza.
All right, I'll send you some pizza.
Love some pizza, goddamn.
I can only find one person some pizza.
And it has to be me.
It has to be Vince.
What? Why? I asked first.
No, you know.
What are you gonna? Mandy know about this romance you got going with Vince, or what?
That's right. These sons.
Romance. There's a little bit of a bromance going on here.
Right, and look at
okay, huh?
fast that was delivered to me. Look at that fucking
Oh, look
pizza.
at that, Jesus H. What the?
Sorry, Joe. Watch this. Wait.
Rawlik. You know what?
What?
It's actually the easiest flights to the States from Berlin are to Miami. You should worry about that because Germans love Florida. Going to Miami is actually cheaper than going anywhere else in the state.
Oh,
I might wind up at your house for a couple of weeks to eat you out of house and home.
Fucking hot as balls over here, Joe. What are you talking about?
Hot as balls. You know what it's been like over here? It's been 90 and insufferable for 10 days.
All I can hope is that Peter has a nice big circle of salt to keep you at bay, Joe.
Yeah, you know what? Salt and pepper shrimp is like one of my favorite things, so salt don't bother me.
Well, that's what I figure. It'll at least keep you at bay
And
for a while.
I have always wanted to try Cajun gator, so you know that ain't even gonna scare me. Now this anaconda shit Pete's putting up with. What?
Anaconda?
What the hell is that shit? How did he get where over? What is? It's impolite to fuck with an old guy's mind when he hasn't woken up as yet.
It's not that hard.
Oh, fuck.
Oh, thanks a lot, Davis, you bum. How the hell is this going on here?
What the?
It was only worth it all the way.
We love you, Joe.
Oh my God.
You two cats, I'm gonna whoop your ass in Necronomicon.
Yeah,
I'm actually gonna start behaving so I'm in good shape so I can whoop your two asses.
You totally do that.
The best part is he's
Who's at whose house here?
Sons of bitches, I've been here for 4 days.
Oh man, I did. Oh wait a minute! Like a month ago, you said something. I completely forgot about that.
Oh.
That's not like nice to fool with old people. You whippersnappers have no respect for your elders. Yeah, you keep showing me that, Vince. You're buying next August, sucker.
I'll buy a pizza. I'll get a totally.
You're now officially stuck. I'm ordering and pointing at your wallet.
I will buy you dinner, sir. It's on me. That was great. It was worth
Rawlik, you're screwed, Rawlik. Even if you can't hear this right now, you're screwed.
He's coming back downstairs.
I will get you back, Rawlik.
It was like one of those.
I don't know when, but yours is coming, Captain Pete. It's coming, let me tell you.
You know, speaking of next August, I've been meaning to look this up. So next August is Necronomicon, obviously, and isn't the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival like the next month or the month before?
It's October.
It's October.
September, okay, so
They're
they're 2
moving
months
it.
apart. Well, yeah, I don't know if I can make both of those 2 months apart.
Yeah, next year's gonna be. I mean, they always were in the fall before, which was great.
Yeah.
But because they got the thing in L.A., so they want to separate them, distance them from each other.
Well, it may. I hope it. I hope it doesn't, because both are very worthwhile. But I hope it doesn't backfire against one or the other. Film festival, probably most likely. I mean, how many of us can make both of those 2 months apart? I don't know if I can.
Right.
You know.
Well, the festival I think will do well on its own anyway, because it always did. You know. I mean, there's enough of an audience, so it won't suffer.
Yeah. Opposite sides of the country.
What?
So Vince, you're like hanging out there with your weird hats.
Yes.
And this wasn't hat day. We hadn't picked which day we were doing hats yet.
True.
No, but he was wearing my hats. And only one person picked up on that.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing any hats. It's 90 degrees here at 6:30.
It's like 110 here.
Oh.
That's Satan's balls over here.
Yeah, a whole 90
But
degrees.
Rawlik's got central ice, so it shouldn't be bad.
True. That's true. I'll give you that. But there's lizards running all over, and they'll nip at your balls.
Yeah. Okay. Well, at least you're getting some for a change, so don't complain.
They nip at it's
No!
Probably.
Who gave the old guy some joy juice?
Well, you know, you kick cantankerous when it's not awake, and you're going to get commentary. Look at this guy. Only young people can chew that quick.
That's true. That's true.
This is like his 8th slice of pizza since I've discovered this trick they're pulling on me.
On my shirt, it's like all fucked up now.
Oh yeah, that's a good place for pizza.
It is. Now I can save it for lunch tomorrow.
Oh boy.
I'm glad this is live because everyone can enjoy.
Yeah, Pete, I see your guests are very steeped in decorum.
Not really.
Good thing this is not live. Good thing no one's watching.
Well, there's gotta be.
Oh, it's not live? Oh, I was trying to sort of be
but she's on it today, so there goes the audience.
It's live in the corner of our screen, just in case you ever want to.
I was joking. It's live.
All right, let's get on a subject. We were on Necronomicon.
Yes.
Yeah, I was just. I mean, I'm just curious. Most of us usually go to both. Are you guys planning to go to both next year?
I'll be lucky if I make one.
Yeah.
I'm just going to Necronomicon.
Rick, we can come pick you up, by the way.
Yeah, I'm going to take you up on that offer. I really appreciate it.
Yeah.
I will come get you.
Well, if I can only go to one, I'm going to go to Necronomicon.
Word.
I mean, I'd like to go to both.
I'm going to try and make both, but it's going to be tough. It's going to be really tough.
You got this.
Got to see how many of them.
Yeah, you basically have a year desert between, and then you got 2 of them together.
Right.
Yeah.
What were we talking about? Who's in charge?
What the hell happened to James?
Well, the other thing that I'm reading lately is a book that's been out a while. Finally getting around to reading the short stories here.
Oh, Murder Shadows.
Is that the second one or the third one? I keep forgetting.
It's the third one.
Okay.
The problem is out of the first 3 stories, 2 of them are like reprints of old stuff, and I don't like them. John Glasby, Innsmouth Bane, and Innsmouth Clay by Derleth, riffing off Lovecraft.
Right.
I see why they put them in. They're just not.
Yeah, I agree with you, but that's the one thing to me. With having all 3 volumes, it's like you pretty much have all the Innsmouth stuff there is. So for anybody who wants to delve in and basically own most of it, there it is.
I think, Pete, you were talking about that a while back, that they reprinted a lot of...
Yeah, and the one, and I agree with Matt on this, is that there's a bunch of reprints in there that I don't particularly find necessary. The one that bothered me the most was Kin Newman's story, the case of the French spy.
Was that the little boy detective story?
Right.
I had never read that before, and I enjoyed it.
Well, okay, so in the last, I think, 2 or 3 years, it's appeared in 4 different anthologies.
Yeah, well, that's the problem.
And they're all by Stephen Jones.
Mm.
So
it's Kim Newman. He wrote what was it?
Dracula's
another
big
fish story.
Right. He's a great writer, and it's a good story. It's just imprinted too. It's like A Study in Emerald.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Richard Riddle, Boy Detective in the Case of the French Spy.
Right.
Yeah, he wrote The Big Fish, right?
Yes.
Philip versus the Deep Ones.
Mm-hmm.
I thought that was a good story.
Yeah, somebody asked me the other day if I'd read that great Neil Gaiman Lovecraftian story, A Study in Emerald. And I said, I think I've heard of it. It's been a couple of weeks now. It's about time to reprint it again.
Yeah. So yeah, I get where you're going, Matt. There are a few good stories in there. Caitlin's stories are worth reading, and there's a couple from another woman whose name escapes me at this moment.
I thought it was the three of the stories in there are by Caitlin Kiernan.
Right.
And Pete, you bring up Caitlin. I won't be able to afford it, but Centipede Press is doing
The Drowning Girl.
Kiernan Lovecraftian Stories omnibus.
Are they?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's a
I'm
good one.
pretty. I believe ST is editing that,
Right. Because I know
but it'll be everything Lovecraftian she's written to date.
they just done the Drowning Girl, and I know the Red Tree is on schedule.
Yep.
So
Yeah.
But apparently they're going to assemble all her Lovecraftian material now.
okay.
And for those reading, I wouldn't call the Drowning Girl Lovecraftian.
No.
It's not even necessarily supernatural. It's more like her exploration, her continued exploration of the unreliable narrator.
Right.
Which she loves and does magnificently.
Oh yeah, she has written some great stories that I like. But I just don't think it's not that I like the Drowning Girl. It's not if you want your books to all be Lovecraftian, that wouldn't be one of them.
No, but anybody who enjoys weird fiction is gonna, or who like the Red Tree is gonna love the Drowning Girl. You know.
Right.
Yeah, before I forget to say this, Arkham Bazaar's having a book sale right now, 20 to 50% off, I guess.
Right.
They're Lovecraftian, I guess that's what they sell, is only Lovecraftian books.
Yeah, only Lovecraftian books.
Well, they do.
Yeah, they got some good stuff. There are some of the Fedosian and Bramer titles, including their two newest ones, Nicolai's book. Nicolai's book is, I think, like $19 during this sale, which is cheap. They got a Season in Carcosa. They got Broomscribe's Puppets. They got both. They got most of the Miskatonic River Press titles. They have one of Stan Sargent's. I think it's Ancient Excavations. Like I said, a bunch of Fedosian and Bramers are pretty cheap. I think there's a few Hippocampus titles. But every book they're carrying is 20 to 50% off. I think it's Brian and Gwen's anniversary sale or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, just Google Arkham Bazaar and you'll find it. I believe it's arkhambazaar.com.
They got this one book discounted. I think it's called Reanimators.
Never heard of it.
Sort of heard of
look,
the
this is a serious show. Okay, let's keep it on a level that honors.
You know,
that.
the problem with that Reanimators book is it doesn't come with any fucking pizza. You know, you're reading this big thick ass book. You know, it's really thick. It takes a while to read the whole thing. You'd like to stop and have something to eat so you don't pass out from starvation. It should come with a slice of pizza or something. But no, does it? No, you don't get a piece of pizza with the book. You know, I think.
I was just going to say, Joe, I'll be honest. I have this book and haven't even read it.
There's no pizza stains on that
70
book.
pages in.
What'd you say?
It's a really hard slog, I'll be honest.
Yeah, you get hungry. You need to stop and have a slice of pizza. But there's not a pizza shop in the whole goddamn book.
You keep having to look up things on the internet that involve obscure horror movies.
Well, the thing I don't understand is
why... while you're looking this up on the internet, what do you get? You get advertisements for pizza shops.
Yeah, no, it's terrible.
Yeah.
And I don't know what the hell happened with my copy, but there's the author scribbled a bunch of crap in the front.
Well,
I hate that. Yeah.
You know, I was gonna review it, but you know, I figured, well, on Amazon, everybody's all over the country. So if I brought up the subject of pizza shops, I really couldn't pin it down because I'd have to work with upstate New York pizza shops, and some readers like in Southern California or Florida and stuff wouldn't know about these shops. So that's why I never reviewed it on Amazon.
Joe, you're an adult. You can have pizza for breakfast. You know this, right?
No, I can't.
Why?
Because he's married.
You drag your ass to Germany and you find out you can't get a real slice of pizza here. They don't use tomato sauce. They use this barbecue sauce here. There is no real pizza in Germany, period.
Why do you think I decided to live in Germany? All right, so
now talking about Arkham Bazaar. Wait, don't walk away from Arkham Bazaar.
Yeah, no, we won't.
Their last chances to get the challenge from Beyond.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
Commercial released that chapbook or round robin story that was released at the H.P. Lovecraft Film Festival. If you didn't back it on Kickstarter and you want a copy, there's only a few copies left. They aren't going to reprint it. If you want to go to the Arkham, Arkham Bazaar and buy it, now's your chance.
Yeah, and I would recommend, besides, look, I signed a whole bunch of stuff for them, so chances are if you buy a copy of Reanimators from them, it's signed. But
they had some of us sign a whole bunch of them.
Right.
There's Cody Goodfellow's in it, Motley Tanzer's in it, some guy who Pizza Boy is in it. I'm in it. There was 10 of us, if I remember correctly. Willem was in it. Willem was in it. I think Nick Mamatas was in it.
But you didn't show up at the con.
No, he didn't. Well, but weren't they pregnant at that point?
I don't know.
I think they were 7-8 months into being pregnant at that point.
Okay. If he was pregnant, that would have been notable.
Yeah, because if he was pregnant, then I could have kicked his ass. That's probably the only time I could have kicked his ass. Wow. Him with all that Tai Chi, Kung Fu, whatever stuff. But that was a lot of fun, that round robin, I thought.
It was. The other book you should consider ordering from Arkham Bazaar is Rhymes. It's a cute little book.
Gorgeous little artwork.
Yeah. They got it up for $8.
What book? Sorry, I didn't catch the title.
Mother Hydra's Mythos Rhymes. It's like a Mother Goose book for Cthulhu's.
Okay, Jared Wallace wrote the Mother Goose stuff. That's not got much appeal, but Heather Hudson did charming artwork.
Right.
Yeah, the artwork's really nice.
It's a chapbook-sized book. It's like one of those books for kids, but I really love the artwork in that book. It's as charming as Erica Henderson's art.
Yeah. And the big sell point for me is that they're selling it for $8, new copies. And if you go online to try and find it someplace else, it's $18 to $40 used.
Oh wow!
So they've got a stack of them. They're selling at a reasonable price, and it is a beautifully drawn book. So it's a fun book to have in your collection.
And the other thing is, and I'll probably get in trouble for saying this, but I'll say it anyway.
Probably.
They've been out. I mean, this is convention season, and of course, Arkham Bazaar travels convention to convention, and that's costly. And they haven't been doing as well as at conventions as they have at other years. So this is one of those times where Arkham Bazaar could use a little financial assistance. It's just like supporting a small press at this point.
Interesting that you say that, Joe. There was a big article on Mile High Comics from Denver.
You're right.
Oh, I read that. Wasn't that heartbreaking?
What are you talking about?
It's just, I thought it was interesting. They went to Comic-Con and they lost their shirts. They ended up with a big loss because the sales are down.
Yep.
I don't know if traveling to cons, I'm no expert, but with the internet, is more and more people buying online, I should say. You know, does the cost of selling your books at a con outweigh the gains?
Well,
Yeah, but Arkham Bazaar has all kinds of things, especially great T-shirts, um, and they've always done well at cons, but this year they're not doing so well. So this is the kind of thing like taking advantage of this sale as opposed to going to Amazon is also helping them out in a rough patch.
Yeah, I agree.
So we're just basically supporting this sale is supporting the Lovecraftian community, because they've been a Lovecraftian venue.
They got so much stuff at ArkhamBazaar.com, and it's one of those things where it's such a resource, and sometimes people don't miss stuff till it's gone, and they're like, "Oh, I really wish it was there."
I mean,
you got to support it while it's there.
Everything from Lovecraftian playing cards to gaming supplies to T-shirts, any kind of bric-a-brac or Lovecraftian paraphernalia. They've been supplying, customers for years and years and years. So this is one of those opportunities where they could use help. So,
Pete, were you going to say something?
Oh yeah, the gist of the article about Mile High Con was that they had done a smaller convention earlier in the month. I think it was Salt Lake City or something like that, and made a profit, a hefty profit, and then went to San Diego and lost money because of some things that some of the big publishers were doing in terms of multiple cover releases and stuff.
Oh yeah, 5 and 6 cover variants.
Right, and then just suck the money out of everybody.
But see, I got another thought about that. It's like if you go to a small con, what do they charge the vendors for a table? $100, $200, $250 at the most.
Sometimes $50 for a table at a smaller con.
Right. So the overhead isn't as high, but at Comic Con, I bet you're paying premium dollar for the table.
Well, of course you are. Well, the other thing too with Comic Con, because we've all seen pictures. There, in addition to comics themselves, how many other types of items are there to tempt you? Everything from, T-shirts to action, and as Pete was talking about the bigger companies with variants, you also have the bigger companies who are bringing all kinds of specialty items. Maybe it's a few action figures, or it's some kind of prop replica or whatever. But this is and these things tend to be very expensive and limited. And if you get one, yay! And if you don't, tough. But these things will clean out your pockets.
Yeah.
So for somebody who's been there for what, 40, 50 years? Selling comics, and they are one of America's biggest comic retailers, and always were. They bring comics, and just get muscled out. It was bothersome to me because, being as old as I am, I remember going to concerts, and I mean, Pink Floyd, Dark Side of the Moon, Genesis, The Lamb Lies Down on Broadway.
Mm-hmm.
You heard what was going on stage. People didn't talk. People didn't sing along. You went to hear the band play. Sure, the applause was thunderous at the end of something, but, this wasn't a party. Our audience participation, this was no different than going to a classical concert. You were there to hear the music. And some of these conventions, Comic-Con now, it's more like it's an event than what it started. all the news, because I frequent comic book sites, all the news is over this film and that film, which are 2 years away or whatever.
Yeah.
It's no longer focused on comic books. It's just called Comic Con.
Well, definitely, everybody watching, definitely check out ArkhamBazaar.com and help them out. They've got a lot of stuff there. I mean, if you want to read a Lovecraftian book or you want a T-shirt or whatever, they've got it. You don't have to go to
yeah.
So
cool T-shirts. They got everything. Lovecraftian necklaces and gaming supplies, drinking wear, you name it. Listen to Mike Davis.
So I noticed Chaosium posted about the Ithaca cycle. I don't know if it's a sale too, or they just got it out again, or what. But what do you guys think of? I mean, I've not read this one yet. I see there's 3 or 4 Derleth stories in there.
Well, I think this is a price issue again. Okay, Robert Price issue.
Mm-hmm.
It's like when it's not even like, say, what Joe did, which was he solicited authors he know, but like suppose it's like a Brian Sammons anthology. He requests solicitations, and he sifts through 100 entries to get what he thinks are the best 12 to 15 stories. That's not what Price does. He wants to put everything into context. So he reprints all these ancient stories that may or may not have had anything to do with the development of the concept of Ithaca, and which don't have to be any good at all. So like
it's arguable.
Like half these Chaosium anthologies in the Cycle series, it's like half the stories are like, oh man, come on, I got 3 copies of that, or boy, I read that wasn't so hot. Why did you put it in there?
Well, except for one thing. Wait a minute, Rick. Let me bitch first. Then you can be the nice guy. I'll pick on that for a second. When these books came out, we didn't all have 16 copies of these stories. You have to remember how old most of these Chaosium Cycle books are now. Okay? These things started coming back. These things are almost 20 years old, some of them. The fact that I'm not disagreeing with you about whether some stories are relevant or not, because it's Bob's interpretation and a different editor would do it differently. Mm-hmm. But to lay these out chronologically, and I always pick on the Hastur cycle for the obvious reasons, it's Mayor Costa. I think I would have done the Hastur cycle different. There's no ifs, ands, or buts. But its core concept, to start with the Bierce and to work its way through on up to Derelith and whatnot, and then Wagner, I think that's a great idea. And, in some ways, Matt, you're the absolute wrong reviewer. Because you've been reading stuff forever. You have 10 million Lovecraftian books. For somebody newer, as a gateway to Ithaca, or to Hastur, or to the Necronomicon, these are good venues.
If you're interested in the stories.
You and I have been reading this stuff way, way, way too long. We got a lot of this stuff. We know the history. We know what happened when Derelith picked up this and did that to it. But there's always going to be people who are half our age who are just getting into this. And for them to examine Ithaca or Hastur or Ibon, I think it's valid for them. And again, we got to be careful because, like I said, Ithaca, what's the copyright on that book? Probably pre-2000.
Well, just for example, the what was one of the last ones that came out? The Tyndallos cycle came out a couple years ago, but it was assembled 10 to 12 years previously.
Oh, yeah.
That's chaos.
Bob's got a handful of books that still aren't out that were assembled back then. So these books, if they were to come out today, actually were done 20 years ago, 15 years ago.
And Hippocampus ended up printing that one.
Yeah, Tyndallos, yep.
Well, let's talk about Ithaca for a second, though. I mean, Rick, were you going to say something else? Sorry.
Yeah, I think that, I mean, if you had the 3 or 4 Derleth stories that were in there, maybe it's not as useful, but it is brought in. I think I think everything tied into Ithaca in there, because I think the pre-Derleth stories, I think there were only 2. One was Algernon Blackwood's Wendigo, which is definitely a tie-in to Ithaca.
Yeah,
right.
And the other one was, I think, the thing from outside. I don't remember exactly what. I think it might have been George. I can't remember who wrote the thing from outside.
The thing from outside is George Allen England.
Yeah, George Allen England, which is very similar. I mean, it's possible that it's a coincidence, but it tied into the theme very well. And there were a lot of. I think there were 3 or 4 stories when I got to anthology that I hadn't read, and I had been really collecting Mythos stuff. So, but I thought Bob's books. The only book which I criticized of Bob's in that cycle series is the Shub-Niggurath cycle, because there were stories about goats that I felt had nothing to do with Shub-Niggurath, and he didn't have enough stories for the book, so he stretched it a little bit.
Yeah,
but every other cycle that he's done, I think it's, even if I have every story, the comments on the stories are incredible.
Yeah,
there's quite a bit of history there, and setting these up again, the chronology to have it laid out. I mean, these books are presented. They could have been Mythos for Dummies. You know, Mythos for Dummies, Ithaca, Mythos for Dummies, the Necronomicon. They were set up almost like course studies. Here's the first story, the way I see it. Here's the second story and how this fits into this cycle, the way I see it. So it's arguable. I mean, Matt, you're awful knowledgeable. Like I said, you've been reading this for decades, as I have. Oh, Jesus. There's Dumb and Dumber. I mean, you know, whatever their names are. You know, and I'm not being argumentative, Matt. I just see them in a different light.
I don't disagree. It's just like when I sit down with the book, though, it's like, do I enjoy these stories?
Do all of these?
Okay. Here's my thing.
Wait a second.
Here's my thing.
Are all of these prefaced with Bob's comments?
Let me argue with Matt a minute, because we got to make the viewers like. You know, like, over.
You know, it's like I'm completely non-discriminating. I'll buy it. You know, if he put out Ithaca Cycle 2 with a new story, I'd say, ooh, me. You know,
you buy everything, for crying out loud. Come on.
Yeah. So I'm not telling people not to buy it.
All right, Matt. Come on, you're like 40 years old, okay?
Joe, are you on fire?
Joe, you burning up over there? What the fuck?
Yeah, I'm on fire.
You're on fire every show.
This time I'm not on fire.
I thought he was like he had a cigarette in both hands.
Don't get me going. I might. If Carpenter gets me riled up enough, I might have 3 going.
Maybe there's spontaneous combustion happening.
I know. We're gonna see him go up in flames.
Where do you think all this went? It got burned off.
Well, hang on. I got a quick question. If memory serves, every one of these stories are always prefaced by Bob's comments. Do I have that right?
Always.
Yeah, that's half the reason to buy them.
And
but I make a comment. You read the story, then you read the comments.
No, but.
No, yeah,
First, let
because
me
you
finish
read
what
the
I'm
story
going to
first,
say.
because he will put a spoiler in without telling you.
It's better. It's better to read. It's better to read his comments after,
Afterward. I
unless
agree.
you've already read the story.
Right.
The thing is, Matt, is if you were 15 when these books came out and you were just getting into this stuff, you would think more highly of these books. But at the point where these books were coming out, you were already reading mountains of this stuff. So you were
First one that came out, do you remember Cthulhu's
encountering lesser works, and you were encountering things you'd already read.
Right.
So,
Well,
it's like if I'm going to go back, all right, if we go back to my first dance with Lovecraft, which is in the Ballantine John Holmes cover books, okay? Cthulhu Mythos Volume 2. My favorite story was Lumley, okay? If I go back now and read a couple of Brian's Cthulhu Mythos things, here I am looking at 60, okay? Well, if I go back to 15, I adored these things. If I read them today, are they going to be as good? No. But, so to some degree, it depends where and how we come upon these things.
Right.
The other thing, too, is when I look back, there are so much stuff that, let's say, the newest generation of Lovecraftians, Harrison here and Mr. Fez in the background, Leah, there's younger people, and they haven't encountered this that only got printed 40 years ago or 50 years ago. I think a lot of that old stuff is fun and or interesting to encounter, even though it may not be as good a tale as I mean, look we have Kiernan now, we have Laird now,
we are living in the golden age.
Yes, we are, but
people don't realize it. We are in the golden
stuff. Right, but all this other stuff too is a lot of it was pulp driven, and now we are literary driven. There's a big difference right there,
Well, I want to talk about Ithaca for a second, because my question is, for you guys with encyclopedic brains,
I got to go get tea. That's Rick and Pete and Carpenter.
What do we got besides? What do we have besides the Ithaca cycle? What else do we have out there? If you're into Ithaca, what else is out there? Is this it? Or?
There's a Delta Green story. It's in it's either in Dark Theaters or Alien Intelligence, which is their anthology of short stories. And I might be wrong about the title. It's called The Recruit, maybe.
Okay.
But it was about a woman agent is sent up to the Northwest to investigate. There's these horrible deaths occurring where people are just sort of shredded limb from limb in the frozen, in a freezing storm of some kind. And it's not really Ithaca, but it's related, and it really resonated with me because of the explanation of why this thing was doing what it was doing. That would be a good one for someone who's a fan of Ithaca. Pete, I don't know if you remember the actual name of the story.
If you think of it, I would be interested.
It's in one of those 2 Delta Green anthologies. I'll look through them.
Well, if you go to Amazon in the book section and you type in Ithaca, you basically get the Ithaca cycle and 2 other books. And so it doesn't seem like to me that there's much out there. I like Ithaca, I like the concept, I like, the whole.
Well,
I'm curious.
There's also Brian Lumley did 2 novels, which is sort of Edgar Rice Burroughs meets Lovecraft, called I think Spawn of the Winds, and In the Moons, which you have signed by Brian. In the Moons of Borea was the sequel, right?
Yep.
Okay, now here's something unusual. Okay, it is a mythos romance novel. It is by Margaret Carter. It's called Windwalker's Mate. And
I've heard of that. I never read it.
It's actually, I would give it 3 stars. It is certainly engaging and better than her other so-called Lovecraftian work. But it's about a young woman who's a single mom, and there's some cult that's interested in her, and the cult is trying to appease an entity which may be Wendigo slash Ithaquah slash Hastur or something.
Pass.
And but it actually is really pretty well written. I'm surprised that I enjoyed it.
Okay.
But I thought it was good.
Spawn of the Lumley Spawn novel. I loved when I was younger. It's an old-fashioned pulp yarn. It is a ton of fun. Now, have I read it since I was 16 or whenever it was when I read it? No.
Was it a scroll?
I'm sorry?
Was it on a scroll? If you read it when you were 16?
Scroll. No. Actually, it was in hieroglyphs. In
was a stone tablet
in place. But I managed to get through it in one evening before I had to go back into my casket thing.
Okay.
You guys are funny. It was a lot of fun. But it was real. It reads like an old-fashioned pulp adventure.
Yeah.
So for anybody who's really into literary and that kind of stuff, maybe they won't enjoy it.
Well,
the other thing too is when we look back, Mike loves time travel. So when we look back at these things, if you take somebody who's 25 now, that's grown up with the amount of horror film they've grown up with, they won't be affected the way I was affected opening night at Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They won't be affected the way I was affected opening night of Living Dead.
We talked about this when I read yours truly, Jack the Ripper, because I read it for the first time only about a year or so ago, and I made the comment to you guys that, okay, I saw the ending a mile away, when you guys very aptly pointed out, yeah, there's a good reason for that. You didn't read it 20, 30 years ago like you should have.
Yeah. Well, you can't help when you came across it.
Well, no, but my point is exactly, I'm agreeing with you what you're saying. It depends on when you come on these stories,
It's also sometimes stories are given away. It's just like, read Robert Louis Stevenson's Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde. You're not going to like it because it was written as a mystery. You're not supposed to know these two guys are the same people.
Yeah. Exactly.
And when I first read it as a kid, it's like, what's the big deal? Then I read it as an adult, and I saw these subtle things, Freudian things inside it that I didn't pick up as a kid, and got to appreciate what Stevenson accomplished, even though movies have ruined the novel for everybody.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, so often now people are approaching this, and these things are all tropes now. But back in the day, they weren't tropes. Back in the day, it was a big blank canvas, and here was another star that somebody had pinned on it. So these things were much more interesting and exciting.
Well, I ask about the Ithaquah stuff because I'm just personally, I'm always a big fan of stories that involve weather, whether it's a storm or especially winter, and I just didn't see anything out there besides the Ithaquah cycle.
There's also Adam Neswander's The Charm, which was the first of his Shaman cycle.
Oh, yeah.
Which has a wind demon which is tied into Ithaquah only at the very end.
Right. Stephen McBraney wrote a novella. I think it's not available in print. The one he had talked about when he was on the show about the two couples are riding in a car down the road, and the weather keeps getting worse and worse, and the weather forces them out onto their feet.
Right, that's available in Kindle. Yeah, I forget the
It doesn't
title.
really have anything to do with Ithaca, although it's Mythosian. That weather played a big role in that one.
Yes.
Was that the Children of Moab?
Yeah.
I liked it.
Yeah, it was tied into his novel. Oh no, I can't think of it.
Balak.
Yeah, Balak. I was going to say Baal, and I know what the name was similar to Baal. Balak. Yeah.
Joe, we should have Mark on the show again. He was great to talk with.
Oh, Mark is hilarious, knowledgeable, talented. Yeah, he's fabulous.
You know, since you brought up Mark, we always discuss Dark Shadows whenever he's on.
But don't tell Mark that I said any of those things about him. He's just a crotchety old bastard. Hopefully that gets out into the internet.
I think people are watching. Yeah.
Something I want to bring up that we always talk about. Are there hellmouths near Chicago and the Night Stalker or whatever?
Yeah.
They've come up with an explanation in the Dark Shadow audio dramas for why Collinsport, Maine is visited by entities, and it's Lovecraftian in that they had already on the show these creatures called Leviathans who were sort of somewhere between the Great Old Ones and the Serpent Men of Alucia.
Mm-hmm.
And the explanation now is the place they inhabited on Earth was originally Collinsport, and somehow they infected the wood in the vicinity, and so when these houses were built, they attract ghosts and vampires and werewolves or whatever.
Yeah, and Mark's Dark Shadows radio dramas really are charming and unbelievably well done. I know.
He needs to write another one because at the time he wrote his, he was hampered by the fact that they would only have 2 actors in them. Now they're really sponging on casts.
Well, the thing is if they'd let Mark off the leash,
yeah,
he would do a bunch of these. Mark is as rabid for Dark Shadows as anybody walking around.
Yeah.
Hey, Mike, I thought of another Ithaca story.
Okay.
You might like. Do you have Frontier Cthulhu?
I don't think I do because that didn't appeal to me because I'm not much of a Western fan.
Well, Children of the Mountain is one of the better stories in there, and it is about creatures who are servitors of Ithaca. The author is Stuart Sternberg. He wrote the others in High Seas Cthulhu. He's a pretty good writer, and if you're looking for a good Ithaca yarn, that's a pretty good one.
Okay.
And here's where I'm going to go blank, and Ann Schvader's going to kill me. But I thought, if I remember correctly, and Matt or Rick, you guys can help me out here, one of her Cassie Barrett stories I thought was Ithaca.
Is that the 20 Mile, the ranch?
20 Mile was the first Cassie Barrett story, yeah. But there's 6 altogether. And I thought one of them in the middle, 3 or 4, something in there, was an Ithaca story. I could be wrong. I'm just going blank right now.
I'm not sure.
Yeah, me too, Matt.
Would that have been in the collection? Was the first story?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd have to check it.
Strange Stars and Alien Shadows.
Yeah.
Yeah. But I thought she did one, and her mythos fiction is underrated.
I wish she'd write more.
Besides being an excellent poet.
Right.
Oh, she's our penultimate poet. I'm sorry.
I agree.
She does not get the credit that she deserves here. She would argue with me and kick me all up and down the block and say that she is not the penultimate Lovecraftian poet that Tierney is, and I'd be hard pressed to argue with her, except for her output is more is larger than Dick Tierney's. But Dick Tierney, go look at his Lovecraftian poetry. It's just stunning. On a technical level, on a poetic level, that's the thing with Tierney and Anne. Both on a technical level and purely poetic levels, both of these people are just working at the top of their game. Everyone else comes in with a B when you compare them.
Yeah, Twisted and Dream is the one that is a really good one to pick up. And K. Schwader.
Yeah.
I held up that book a minute ago. So, I'm with Matt. I'm really fading fast. I'm not feeling the greatest, but we're gonna have a show as usual tomorrow at 6 Eastern, and got a guest that I can't remember his name right now. That's how out of it I am. Anyway, James and Leah, good to see you guys, and outside of the game, that is.
Thanks for hosting, Mike.
I wanted to bring this one up for Matt because I'm always enjoying our back and forth with comics and stuff. But you ever hear of Jenny Finn?
No. Well, the name. You know what? I might have that book.
It's by Magnolia.
What's it about?
It's like old time, like 18th century, working in a fish kind of area, and lots of weird stuff happens. Because describing it sort of doesn't do it justice. It just all evolves around this little girl that shows up, and fish sort of, the fish market sort of is able to boom again, but of course the people of the town seem to have these weird growths and.
That sounds like that's a Mike Mignola book, is what I saw. Cool.
Yeah, it is written by Magnolia. It's just drawn by I think it's where is it? It's written by Mike and Troy Nixie, and the art is by Troy Nixie and Farrell. I'm not even going to try and say his last name. But it's very interesting. I find the story fascinating, and I just thought it was just outside of the range of, I guess, what can be considered mainstream, even though it's written by the guy that did Hellboy.
I'll look into it. I'll let you know.
Yeah, see if it's in your collection.
I gotta get to bed. Thanks everybody for being here. I really appreciate it, and thanks everybody for watching. And we'll see you tomorrow at 6 Eastern.
Have a good night, all.
No,
have a good night.
Take care, everybody.
Joe. See you, everybody.